Slickwads. This is a morose tale. It's the first short story I've read at Breadline. Grandmother was run over by a reindeer. It happened years ago when I was 7, living in northern Maine. Grandmother had been a nice person, but she was run over, flattened, pressed, trampled, bludgeoned, smudged, run over by the thick hooves of a beast gone terribly, terribly awry. And over the months following, I wept. The day grandmother was killed was the day of my first encounter with the beast. More importantly and more heart-shatteringly, it was my last encounter with the living, breathing grandmother I had spent so many days with. I weep thinking about my life being constructed by the kindness of the heart of my dutiful, wizened grandparent, my grandmother, before she turned into the lifeless coffin creature that she is today. Back then, I would be awoken by her voice at the foot of the stairs, saying things like, "Jerry, your pancakes are ready and the bus is on the way. It will be here soon." Or, "Get your romp downstairs for the sake of your education." Jesus Christ, she would always mumble things like, "I am your grandmother," in hushed tones. Later, I would come to be very cautious of her silent side, and later still, I would become very fearful of my own disappointment. How could I have been so impersonal? How could I have left her there, the moving target for the reindeer who flew across the space, as a bullet does down through air, and everyone is watching, waiting for the impact of the projectile so invisible? At night, grandmother talked in her sleep. I would hear every instance of the commentary, which she spoke loudly despite her intentions and due to the curse of hearing aids. And now she's dead. My grandmother is dead. She's been dead, and all I can think of is her goddamn murmuring. What the hell is wrong with me? I didn't exactly miss her after the tragic collision between her body and the body of the other mammal. I mean, I didn't immediately miss her. There had always been problems, tensions, challenges, problems, like her love for prune juice and her obsession over floral pens. When I was 7, I thought heavily about prune juice as being absolutely putrid. When I was 7, I thought about floral pens being so sickeningly blasé. In truth, looking back on it, I think the flowers were rightfully targeted. They were holding me back from my boyishness and my exploratory nature. The prune juice, though, I can't figure it out. She never allowed snow in the house and forced me to put my boots by the wood stove. My parents had been in a car accident, a minor fender bender, but on the top of Mount Washington, and the fender bender resulted in certain decisions being made, resulting in their ultimate demise, a la unintentional descent from the high stretches of Mount Washington. I was up in the gift shop with grandmother. This was before grandmother was run over by a reindeer. I could have stopped the reindeer. I could have charged at it with my knife, the knife grandmother passed on to me from my dead grandfather. I didn't know grandfather, and I don't think I know grandmother. I don't even know myself. Am I the reindeer in this story? Am I the grandmother? I must admit, I do get disturbed some nights, and before brushing my teeth and shutting the lid on my laptop, I try and replay the mammal-to-mammal collision over in my head several times, many, many times. I start beating my chest because there's no one else in my apartment to say, "Jerry, stop beating your chest," and then I shout with conviction, "Mama Leah! Mama Leah!" Over and over and over again, "Mama Leah!" thinking about the fate of humans to their four-legged counterparts, the reindeer. I don't think about holidays when someone mentions the word grandmother. The sad thing about memory is the blurring of the edges, the loosening of the details. Watching grandmother lose her entire bowel structure to the piercing stomp and clomp of the antlered champion on that frosty New England morn jolted my senses. I do remember this. I do remember getting jolted and thinking, "Jerry, your grandmother's a goner and you have a new role model." Her entrails were like the drapes hanging from our front room. The porch just beyond collecting the finest powder of pollen, yellowed gold cascading out into the streets, and the wooded perimeter just beyond, where occasionally one would turn to see a deer or a rabbit sneaking around in their foraging ways and wants. Her entrails, her digestive system, a smattered smear a 7-year-old cannot ever forget, it being such a strange and acute image, one of primal decency and natural choreography. Some facts about reindeer since the gory incident. My parents died long before grandmother. They were in a Ford when it happened, hit by a Volvo. The police investigator, whatever he was, on top of Mount Washington, just kept saying what a remark the event was. What a goddamn remark. And how the newspapers would never believe what happened. A Ford and a Volvo. He said it just like that, with the accent on the and a Volvo. I sat there staring at the wreckage my parents long since removed in body bags while the officer of the law just kept repeating these things, writing notes and chewing gum. The social services agent who arrived within moments wore a dark brown coat and smelled like cherries. I nearly vomited in his Oldsmobile as he smoked with the window rolled down. Where was grandmother? I didn't have any brothers and sisters. I still don't. Any sense of overwhelming dread I developed within myself came to fruition when I turned 15, and upon looking at a dusty scrap of map in the corner of a room I was ready to abandon, I noticed the word Caribou listed to designate some place, some town, not but 30 miles from where I was currently pondering. 1 year later, I received my driver's license and decided to go. I decided to go to Caribou. Grandmother's spirit guided me along the roads. Maine was a hellish place at age 15. I haven't returned since. My grandmother rests there to this day.